So we've been in Romans, and there's so many things in Romans that we could talk about. But we're going to Romans 12, first two verses today. And I just wanted to really point out, we've been talking about righteousness, the righteousness of God, which has been revealed. And in that, he wants us to know, God wants you to know that he has given you righteousness. So as we said the last time, you reckon yourself dead unto sin and alive unto God. This means something's changed, something profound. And here in Romans 12, in these first two verses, specifically verse 2, it's going to tell us that he has a purpose and a plan, and this is something that's really important. So let's jump right into that. In Romans chapter 12, verse 1, I beseech you therefore. So the Apostle Paul is saying, I beseech, I beg, I want this, earnestly desire this, brothers, that by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice. So think about what that means is he's saying that there's something that has changed, has to change, to present my body, myself, as a living sacrifice. What am I sacrificing? I'm sacrificing everything that was of the old, everything that's of the flesh, everything that's contrary to who and what God is. So he says, I'm begging you, I'm beseeching you, by the mercies of God. That's the very power, the strength. God's given me forgiveness. He has enabled me to walk in the fullness of that which he intends. And this is me presenting myself, giving up myself, reckoning myself dead to unrighteousness, to sin, the past. The old has passed away and all things have been made new. So he says, present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. That's what's expected of us. This is what God and the gospel declares, that there's a fundamental change. And this is me considering, reckoning myself dead to the past, dead to sin, dead to the way of doing things previously that I did. And now I'm alive unto God. So I'm laying down and I'm sacrificing everything contrary to what God desires and what he says. He is the wisdom of my life. He is my life. He is your life. So we get into verse 2 and he tells us this is the effect and this is the outcome of doing this. He says, and do not be conformed to this world. That's what I've been saying. We're not looking like the world. We don't do it the same way as the world. In fact, when you look at the world, you see they don't have answers. They live in despair and depression and turmoil. There is a lack of peace. They don't find, the world's way does not find joy in the midst of struggles. See, we don't suffer and struggle just for the sake of it, but without hope, without vision, without something greater than what my circumstances are, it is for no purpose. So he says, don't be conformed to the way of the world. In that way is nothing but death, not life. And he came to give us life and life in abundance. So don't be conformed to this world, but rather be transformed. Be transformed, completely changed. It's a different way. How does this happen? As he goes on and he says, by the renewing of your mind. All that means is I learn a new way to think. And what is that way? No longer is it the way of I'll decide for myself, I'll look at the examples, I'll live by what I see and feel, but rather I have a new mind, a new way of thinking that he has given me. This is your portion. God gives you his mind. He gives you his wisdom. He shows you his will. And he wants you to live by that. And to finish verse 2, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Think about this, that I'm not to be like the rest of the world. You are not to be like the world anymore. You have a new life defined by righteousness, by the nature and character of your Father. Do not be conformed. Consider yourself dead to that, alive unto him. His mercy, his grace, his presence is what empowers you to walk this out. And you prove and you show what is his good pleasure, his will. Which, remember, when you go back to Colossians 1, where we started weeks ago, God wants us to know his will. You are worthy of what he has called you to. And when you truly abandon yourself to that, you give yourself to it, and you trust him in this, you're no longer what you used to be. You're no longer like the rest of everybody around you, but you are transformed because you think in a new and different way.